Let me be direct with you right from the start, because what I'm about to share could genuinely protect your kidneys, and if you're over 60, this is not something you want to scroll past. There is one supplement sitting in medicine cabinets all across America right now, a supplement that millions of older adults take every single morning without a second thought, and according to recent research, it may be quietly damaging the very organs that keep your blood clean, your blood pressure stable, and your body alive. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I take vitamins, I try to do the right things, how could something I bought at a pharmacy be hurting me? That's exactly the trap. Because this isn't some obscure herb from a shady website. This is one of the most popular, most widely recommended supplements in the entire country. It's on the shelves of every CVS, Walmart, and Costco. Doctors mention it casually. Morning shows talk about it like it's as harmless as drinking orange juice. But here's what almost nobody is telling people over 60. Your kidneys after 60 are not the same kidneys you had at 40, and what was safe then may not be safe now. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what's happening inside your body, which supplement we're talking about, what the research actually says, and what you should do instead to protect yourself without giving up the health benefits you're looking for. This is Dr. Ethan Parker, and this is the conversation your doctor should be having with you, but probably hasn't. Let's start by talking about your kidneys for a moment, because most people seriously underestimate how hard these organs work and how silently they can be damaged before any obvious symptoms show up. Your kidneys filter about 200 quarts of blood every single day. 200 quarts. They remove waste products, balance your electrolytes, regulate your blood pressure, and control how much fluid stays in your body. When your kidneys are working well, you don't notice them at all. That's the problem. Because when they start to struggle, the warning signs are easy to miss. A little more fatigue than usual, some swelling in your ankles, slightly higher blood pressure. You might brush all of that off as just getting older. And that's exactly what makes kidney disease so dangerous. By the time most people realize something is wrong, significant damage has already been done. Now here's the critical piece of information that changes everything once you cross 60. The natural aging process causes your kidneys to gradually lose filtering efficiency. Studies published in journals like the American Journal of Kidney Diseases have shown that kidney function, measured by what doctors call the glomerular filtration rate, declines on average by about 1% per year after the age of 40. That means by 60, many people are already operating with kidneys that are working at 70 to 80% of what they once were. By 70, possibly 65%. This decline is completely normal and most doctors don't panic about it. But here's what they often forget to factor in. When you add certain supplements on top of an already reduced kidney function, the math changes dramatically. Things that your kidneys could process easily at 40 can become a genuine burden at 65 or 70, and one supplement in particular sits at the center of this problem. The supplement I'm talking about is calcium, specifically high-dose calcium supplements. And before you close this video saying you've heard this before, I want you to hear the full picture, because the story is more nuanced and more alarming than most health channels are telling you. For decades, calcium supplements were pushed aggressively, especially to women over 50 as a way to prevent osteoporosis. The thinking made complete sense on the surface. Bones need calcium. Aging causes bone loss. So take calcium. Simple, right? Millions of Americans bought into it, and for a long time the medical community largely agreed. But starting in the early 2000s, researchers began looking more carefully at what happened to people who took high-dose calcium supplements long-term. And what they found was deeply uncomfortable. A landmark study published in the British Medical Journal in 2010 analyzed data from over 12,000 women and found that those who took calcium supplements had a significantly higher risk of heart attack compared to those who didn't supplement at all. That study sent shockwaves through the medical community. But the kidney connection, that part of the story got far less attention in mainstream media, and that's a problem. Here is what the research shows about calcium supplements and kidney health, and I want you to really pay attention to this because it directly affects the decisions you make every morning. When you take a calcium supplement, especially in doses of 1,000 milligrams or higher, you dramatically spike the level of calcium circulating in your bloodstream. Your kidneys are then responsible for filtering that calcium out. In younger, healthy kidneys, this process works reasonably well. But in aging kidneys, that extra calcium load can accumulate. Over time, calcium deposits can form inside the tiny filtering structures of the kidneys called the nephrons. These deposits are called nephrocalcinosis, and once calcium hardens in your kidney tissue, it does not simply go away. Research published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology has shown a clear association between long-term high-dose calcium supplementation and increased risk of kidney stones as well as accelerated kidney function decline in older adults. A 2020 analysis that looked at supplement use in adults over 60 found that regular users of calcium supplements at doses above 800 milligrams daily had a measurably higher rate of chronic kidney disease progression compared to those who got their calcium from food alone. Let that sink in. The supplement marketed to protect your bones may be quietly accelerating damage to your kidneys. Now let's talk about the kidney stone connection, because this is where people start to feel the consequences most directly and most painfully. If you've ever had a kidney stone, you know it's not something you forget. The pain is often described as worse than childbirth. And here's the brutal truth about calcium supplements and kidney stones. The most common type of kidney stone, accounting for roughly 80% of all cases, is made of calcium oxalate. When you flood your system with supplemental calcium, especially in the form of calcium carbonate, which is what you'll find in most over-the-counter products like Tums or generic calcium supplements, the calcium that isn't absorbed into your bones simply circulates and gets filtered through your kidneys. The higher the dose, the more calcium your kidneys have to deal with. The National Institutes of Health has noted that postmenopausal women and older men who take calcium supplements regularly have a significantly higher incidence of kidney stones than those who do not. And here's the cruel irony. If you take a calcium supplement with food, the calcium can actually bind to oxalate in your digestive tract and prevent it from being absorbed, which reduces stone risk slightly. But most people don't take their supplements with food. They pop them on an empty stomach in the morning or at night, which means the calcium goes straight into the bloodstream and straight to your kidneys. One small habit difference, completely changing your risk profile. At this point in the video, I want to address something I know a lot of you are already thinking. You're wondering whether you should just stop taking calcium right now, and I want to be very clear about something. Please do not make any changes to your supplements without first talking to your doctor or a nephrologist. This video is about giving you information and awareness, not about being your physician. What I want you to do is become an informed patient, ask better questions, understand what is actually happening in your body, because here's the thing, some people genuinely need supplemental calcium. If you have been diagnosed with osteoporosis, if your dietary calcium intake is severely low, if your doctor has assessed your overall health picture and determined that supplemental calcium outweighs the risks for your specific situation, then this conversation looks different for you. The problem isn't calcium itself. The problem is the blanket recommendation that older adults, particularly older women, should simply take a calcium supplement as a default habit without individualized assessment of their kidney health, their dietary intake, and their actual blood calcium levels. Millions of people are taking a supplement they may not need at doses that may be harmful without anyone checking whether their kidneys can handle the load. Let me give you some context that might surprise you. Multiple nutrition studies have consistently shown that the average American adult already gets a significant amount of calcium from their diet even without supplementation. Dairy products, leafy green vegetables, almonds, fortified foods like orange juice and cereals. Calcium is remarkably common in the American food supply. A 2015 report from the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee found that dietary calcium intake in the United States is generally adequate across most age groups. Not deficient, adequate. Yet supplement sales data from the same period showed that calcium supplements were among the top 3 selling supplements in the country, with billions of dollars in annual revenue. Think about that for a second. Most people are getting enough calcium from their food, but an enormous number of people are also stacking supplemental calcium on top, pushing their total intake well beyond what their aging kidneys were designed to process efficiently. It's not a vitamin deficiency story, it's a marketing success story, and your kidneys are paying the price. Now here's where the conversation gets really important and really practical, because I don't want to just scare you. I want to give you something actionable. Let's talk about what actually works for bone health after 60 and how you can protect your bones without overwhelming your kidneys. The first thing to understand is that bone density is not just about calcium intake. This is one of the most misunderstood facts in senior health. Your bones need calcium, yes, but they also need vitamin D to actually absorb that calcium efficiently. They need magnesium to activate vitamin D and support bone matrix formation. They need vitamin K2 to direct calcium into your bones rather than letting it deposit in your arteries or kidneys. And perhaps most importantly of all, they need mechanical loading, meaning weight-bearing exercise, to signal to your bones that they need to stay dense and strong. A person who gets enough dietary calcium, maintains adequate vitamin D levels, exercises regularly, and eats a generally nutritious diet will almost always have better bone outcomes than a person who sits on the couch taking 1,000 milligrams of calcium carbonate every morning. The supplement alone, without the supporting factors, does remarkably less than most people realize. Let's talk about vitamin D for a moment because it has its own nuanced story when it comes to kidney health over 60, and it's deeply connected to the calcium conversation. Vitamin D is essential. Without it, even if you eat plenty of calcium, your intestines simply cannot absorb it properly. The active form of vitamin D, called calcitriol, is actually produced in your kidneys. And here's the twist. As kidney function declines with age, the kidneys become less efficient at converting vitamin D into its usable form. This means that many older adults are vitamin D insufficient even if they're spending time outside and eating reasonably well. A simple blood test can check your 25-hydroxy vitamin D level, and it is genuinely one of the most useful tests your doctor can run for your overall health picture after 60. If your levels are low, supplementing with moderate amounts of vitamin D3 along with vitamin K2 is generally considered safe and beneficial. But the key word there is moderate. Vitamin D toxicity is real, and it actually causes hypercalcemia, meaning dangerously high blood calcium, which circles right back to the kidney damage problem we started with. More is not always better. Optimal is better. I want to share a scenario with you that I hear about regularly from people in this community, and it perfectly illustrates why this issue matters so much. Imagine a 68-year-old woman. She's health conscious. She goes to her annual physical. Her doctor mentions she's at risk for osteoporosis based on her family history and her age. He recommends she take 1,200 milligrams of calcium daily along with vitamin D. She follows that advice faithfully for 5 years. Nobody ever checks her kidney function specifically in the context of her supplement use. Nobody asks about her dietary calcium intake. Nobody measures her blood calcium levels. And then one day she ends up in the emergency room with an excruciating kidney stone. The nephrologist reviewing her case immediately identifies the likely connection to her supplement regimen. She's devastated. She was doing everything she thought she was supposed to do. This is not a made-up story. This is a pattern that plays out in hospitals and doctors' offices across the country constantly. The tragedy is that it is preventable with better information and more personalized medical guidance. So what should you actually do if you're over 60 and you're currently taking calcium supplements? Here is a framework that I want you to take to your next doctor's appointment as a starting point for a more informed conversation. First, ask your doctor to check your kidney function through a simple blood test that measures your eGFR, which stands for estimated glomerular filtration rate. This tells you how well your kidneys are filtering right now and gives critical context to any supplement conversation. Second, ask about your dietary calcium intake. There are simple online tools that can help you estimate how much calcium you're actually getting from food. If you're consistently getting 800 milligrams or more from your diet, which many Americans are, the case for additional supplementation becomes much weaker and the risk-to-benefit calculation changes significantly. Third, ask about a bone density scan, also called a DEXA scan, if you haven't had one recently. Don't assume you have bone loss just because of your age and gender. Know your actual numbers. Fourth, discuss whether your current calcium supplement dose is truly necessary given your dietary intake, your kidney function, and your bone density results. There is no reason to take a supplement that your body doesn't need at a dose that your kidneys may struggle to handle. Fifth, if you do need supplemental calcium, ask about calcium citrate rather than calcium carbonate. Research suggests that calcium citrate is more easily absorbed and may be somewhat less taxing on the kidneys compared to calcium carbonate, particularly when taken without food. Here's another layer to this story that most people never hear about, and it connects to something called the calcium paradox. Scientists and researchers have noticed something deeply puzzling in the data on calcium and aging. People who have low dietary calcium intake tend to have higher rates of bone fractures, which makes sense. But people who have very high calcium intake, particularly through supplements, do not have proportionally better bone outcomes. In fact, in some populations, very high calcium intake is associated with what's called vascular calcification, where calcium deposits actually build up in blood vessel walls, making arteries stiffer and raising cardiovascular risk. This is where the vitamin K2 story becomes fascinating. Vitamin K2 activates a protein called osteocalcin, that essentially acts like a traffic director for calcium in your body, steering it into your bones where you want it and away from your arteries and soft tissues where you don't want it. Many researchers now believe that the negative effects seen with calcium supplementation in some studies may be partially explained by widespread vitamin K2 deficiency in older Americans. If your body can't direct calcium properly because it lacks K2, supplemental calcium may be less likely to go where you want it and more likely to cause problems where you don't. This is cutting-edge thinking in the field of geriatric nutrition, and it's a conversation most primary care doctors haven't had time to fully integrate into their daily practice yet. I also want to briefly mention the connection between calcium supplements, blood pressure medications, and diuretics because many people over 60 are on one or more of these medications and the interactions matter. Certain blood pressure medications, particularly thiazide diuretics like hydrochlorothiazide, actually cause your kidneys to retain more calcium rather than excreting it. If you're already on a thiazide diuretic and you're also taking a high-dose calcium supplement, your blood calcium levels could climb higher than either your doctor or you realize. This combination significantly increases kidney stone risk and can also affect how your heart and nervous system function. Similarly, if you're on ACE inhibitors or ARBs for blood pressure, your kidneys are already under a certain degree of managed stress. Adding a high calcium load on top of that is something your nephrologist should absolutely be aware of. The point here is not to alarm you, but to emphasize that supplement use is not separate from the rest of your medical picture. Everything your body processes goes through your kidneys, and your kidneys are keeping score. Now at this point in the video, I want to shift into something genuinely hopeful because I never want this channel to be about fear alone. I want it to be about empowerment. The truth is that if you make the right adjustments now, your kidneys have remarkable capacity to stabilize and in many cases partially recover their function. The kidneys are not as forgiving as the liver, which can regenerate aggressively, but reducing the unnecessary burden on your kidneys through thoughtful supplement choices. Staying well hydrated, managing blood pressure, limiting excessive protein intake, and avoiding nephrotoxic substances including some over-the-counter pain medications like ibuprofen and naproxen can meaningfully slow the rate of kidney function decline. Every year you preserve a little more kidney function is a year your body stays better balanced, your energy stays higher, and your risk of serious complications stays lower. The choices you make about what goes into your body after 60 carry more weight than they did at 30 because the margin for error narrows. But that also means the gains from making smarter choices are very real and very meaningful. Let me leave you with the most important single message from everything we've covered today. The goal was never to demonize calcium. Calcium is essential. Bones matter. But the era of blanket supplement recommendations for all older adults, regardless of their individual health picture, their dietary habits, and their kidney function, is one that the medical community is slowly but genuinely moving away from. You deserve personalized guidance, not generic advice. You deserve to know what's happening inside your kidneys before you keep loading them with something your body may not need. And you deserve to make that decision with full information rather than out of habit or marketing. The next time you pick up that bottle of calcium supplements from your bathroom counter, I want you to pause for just a second and ask yourself, do I actually know if I need this? Do I know what it might be doing to my kidneys? Have I talked to my doctor about my specific numbers? That one moment of questioning could be the moment that changes the trajectory of your kidney health for years to come. I want to hear from you right now in the comments below, and I genuinely mean that. Have you been taking calcium supplements? Has your doctor ever discussed the kidney connection with you? Or maybe you've already had a kidney stone and you're wondering if this could be related. Share your story below because the people watching this video right now include people who are going through exactly what you've gone through, and your experience might be the thing that helps someone else ask the right question at their next appointment. Drop your thoughts, your questions, your experiences in the comments. And if you have someone in your life, a parent, a spouse, a friend, anyone over 60 who takes calcium supplements without ever having thought about this, please share this video with them. Not to alarm them, but because the information matters and because sharing it might be one of the most caring things you do for someone today. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already because this channel is entirely dedicated to giving older adults the health information they actually need, the kind that's specific, research-backed, and honest even when it challenges things we thought we knew. I'm Dr. Ethan Parker and I'll see you in the next one. Sonnet 4.6 Claude.